You know, I'm feeling a lot like RFK today. Or no, I don't have a brainworm. Not that I know of. Actually, you know what? I don't know, I may have a brainworm. But no, I'm feeling a lot like RFK Jr. today because RFK Jr. today is feeling like there's victory on the horizon. RFK Jr. is feeling like Donald Trump is divinely chosen to lead this country. No matter what lies or hoaxes they put forward, man, they are pulling out all the stops. They've got Mark Cuban out there attacking women. They've got Joe Biden out there attacking everybody else. They've got Tim Walz calling us all Nazis. And now they've got people trying to convince the world that if Donald Trump becomes president of the United States again, he's going to execute Liz Cheney, which is just, I don't know. It's really, you know what? And I don't blame them. If you're in as dire straits as Kamala Harris is in, if you're in a position where Kamala Harris is, if you've been campaigning for, I don't know what, 75, 80 days, maybe 90. If you've been thrown into this position and now you realize you stare out at the abyss and you realize that come Tuesday, not just your political career, but your entire career is over because there's nothing else to do. You're going to have to go find something new to do. Once you're vice president and you run for president and you lose by the amount of votes and the large margin that I imagine and RFK imagines she's going to lose by, there's no coming back from it.
I smell a landslide on Tuesday.
I love the smell of a landslide on Tuesday. Isn't that the line? Yeah, I smell it too. I smell it in the air. There's something permeating the United States of America and our atmosphere that is it's oh so exciting. It's just oh so optimistic and for me at least, but the media smear campaign, they continue to try and do whatever they can to figure out a way to destroy Donald Trump's credibility, his character, and just lie about him and create hoaxes about him. And the latest hoax that they created is one of the most ridiculous. And I think the American people are over it. I hope they are. We're going to get to all that here in just a minute. Also, we will talk about Mark Cuban and what a moron that guy turned out to be. It just goes to show, I've been telling people for days, you don't need to be intelligent to be a billionaire. Money has nothing to do with intelligence, intellect, common sense. In fact, most rich people are the dumbest. That's not true. Not most rich. There's a lot of really smart rich people, but there's a lot of dumb rich people too. There's a lot of rich people who, didn't go to college, don't speak well, don't think before they speak. But when it comes to creating a product and putting it out there in the marketplace and selling a boatload of them, they know exactly what to do. So we'll get to Mark Cuban here in just a minute because he said some ridiculous things and it backfired on him, man. And it is bad news again for Kamala Harris's campaign. So that's coming up. And also, I do want to share with you some very exciting information about what's going on next week with the final polls, because the final polls are coming in. They're not, election day's Tuesday. So they're not going to do a lot of polling between now and Tuesday. In fact, a lot of states, the early voting ends today or it ends over the weekend. Mail-in voting, or the mail-in ballots have already started coming in, and that's great news for Republicans. And so, like I said, I think that RFK Jr. is right to be optimistic. I feel like you are right to be optimistic, and I feel like come Tuesday, we will have a landslide.
I smell a landslide on Tuesday.
And it's not just the smell of the landslide, it's also the sight of the landslide. And a lot of this people attribute to the world, what's been going on, the country and what a bad state it's in, the Democrats and how they've destroyed their party and their credibility and how nobody trusts them anymore because all they do is lie about things. It's the diminished economy, the increase in crime and immigration and drugs. You can't even recognize some parts of the United States like you used to before Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came into office. So that's really why we're starting to see this. But a lot of folks say, you know what? It's also, there's divine intervention. And yesterday at this Trump event with Tucker Carlson, RFK Jr. came out and he told a story about how he believes Donald Trump was sent by God to save the United States of America.
Since 2005, I spend 30 minutes praying every day when I get out of bed. And
Oh, lots of applause for prayer. The crowd loves to hear that he's praying. They love a prayer guy. Pray up, Kennedy. Pray up, RFK. Amen. Hallelujah. Look at that. They're literally giving him a standing ovation, and all he said was, I pray every day. I love that. I love the country we've become. I love that. And they're still going.
And my prayer is this. I asked God for 19 years to put me in a position where I could end the chronic disease epidemic and bring health back to our children. And in August, God sent me Donald Trump.
Look at that. God sent I've been praying every day for 30 minutes. For 19 years, I've said, dear Lord, please help me end the epidemic. Dear Lord, please help me get children eating healthy again. Dear Lord, please let me demedicalize the medical industry. Let's get back to the kind of lifestyle and health that you dreamed for us when you created us in your image. Let's get back to that. Dear God, help me. And this August, Donald Trump was given to RFK Jr. by God. He believes it was the hand of God that helped him out. And a lot of other people believe that too. And I'll be honest with you, I was in church this morning because it's a holy day of obligation. It's a holy day of obligation, All Saints Day. And so I had to go in, I had to wake up bright and early. I went to church, sat down in the pew, prayed, attended the mass, came back, and it's been an amazing day. I'll be honest with you, I should probably go to church more often or at least start the day, like wake up, jump out of bed like RFK does and pray for 30 minutes because it is helpful and it's calming and it really puts things in perspective. And you can really start to see the gifts from God. And maybe the gifts from God are your family. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's the opportunity to reach out to other people. Maybe the gift from God is a billionaire real estate tycoon from New York City who works the drive-thru at McDonald's in his part-time and, oh yes, likes to drive around in a trash truck. Maybe that's it. The Lord does work in mysterious ways. And we're starting to see that what this country really needs is God. What this country really needs is a miracle. And man, wouldn't you know it? We got one. Because Donald Trump stood up on that stage in Butler, Pennsylvania, took a bullet to the head and survived. He's still here. Months later, another gunman was hiding in the bushes at his golf course. And an eagle-eyed Secret Service agent was able to spot the barrel of that gun sticking out of the greenery, and they were able to thwart a second assassination attempt. How does that happen? Is that luck? Is that coincidence? Or is it divine intervention? All I'm saying is I'm with RFK on this, and I believe that there's no way if Donald Trump is going to survive an election, survive an assassination attempt, 2 assassination attempts, if that's the case, then I believe that there's no way Donald Trump is going to lose to Kamala Harris. God is not going to keep this man alive. God is not going to do everything that he's done so far to make sure that we get the president that we want and we need and we deserve and we choose just to have it all fall apart at the 0 hour. That's my belief, at least. I could be wrong. It's happened once, maybe twice before. Hey, listen, before we get into this whole Liz Cheney hoax, before we get into what's going on with Liz Cheney, I do want to share. Yesterday, I announced and I showed you the official Trump MAGA Donald's ball cap and T-shirt, which are available right now at markshop.com. And man, you guys scooped them up. You guys raced over to markshop.com. You picked up your T-shirts. You got your MAGA Donald's hats with the golden arches and the red and the gold. You got these T-shirts that make it look like you're wearing Donald Trump's apron, which, by the way, was one of the most popular. It was one of the most popular Halloween costumes. I had a bunch of people posting up that very similar to what I wore, and I actually had a kid or two come to my front door looking for the full-size candy bars, and they had the orange vest on that we were wearing yesterday when Donald Trump was the trash man, and they were dressed, of course, as the greatest president of our time, Donald Trump. So if you would like your official MAGA Donald's apron or shirt, if you'd like your official Trump MAGA Donald's ball cap, go to markkshop.com right now, markkshop.com. The link is in the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube. The link is in the description of this video if you're watching on Rumble. And of course, please, as always, subscribe to this channel because we are growing. The only way we can grow is through is with you pointing that mouse and clicking on the right button. The only way we grow is if you thumb up this video, if you subscribe to our channel. Setting the notifications is really helpful because you know what happens is later on during the day, I'll post some content and you'll get notified. And all of a sudden you can watch it and then we grow in other, in other glorious ways. If you're listening on the podcast page, whether it's iTunes or Spotify, first of all, thank you. Because I'm happy to report that since we've been doing Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, not just this year, but even before we started, before we had our hiatus, before we had our change of venue and career, before all of that, we had the largest, by far, by tens of thousands of downloads, we had the largest month we've ever had in the month of October. More people downloaded Mark Kaye Saves the Republic on iTunes. More people downloaded Mark Kaye Saves the Republic on Spotify. More people downloaded our podcast in the month of October 2024 than they ever have before. And we continue to climb up the charts. And I thank you all for that. So again, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you're doing it. If you haven't yet set the notifications, make sure you do that. And again, if you feel like sharing this with other like-minded Patriots who are liberty-loving, freedom-defending Americans who want to know where the attacks are coming from, who they can trust, who they should be wary of, what the real news is, what the fake news is, what the polls are actually saying. If you know some liberty-loving, freedom-defending people, some Americans out there who would love to join our Patriot Army and fight every single day and be inspired and enlightened and encouraged and entertained all at the same time that we're fighting for our republic, fighting for our ideals, fighting for our constitutional values and our Christian morals. If you know some people like that, dadgummit, share this with them right now because they're going to love it and they're going to love you for introducing them to it. All right, let's get to Liz Cheney, shall we? This hoax, man, I'll tell you what. It's wild to me how obvious they make these things now. And again, the problem is that there's a lot of people out there that just watch the one narrative and they don't investigate the actual narrative. And the problem is that there's people out there who are paid operatives of Kamala Harris, and their job is just to sit around and watch Donald Trump's speeches and wait for something that they can take totally out of context and spin, and then they put it on their X feed, and then they send it out to their media surrogates, and then all of a sudden, all the lying liars in the mainstream media, in the dying cockles of media journalism on television and on the radio and on the internet, all these people, all these talking heads are saying the same thing. It's all a bunch of BS and it's easy to disprove. The problem is a lot of people don't go and look at the disproved portion. They only look at the original. So this Tucker Carlson event where RFK was speaking, it was like a live Tucker Carlson event, which he did a whole bunch of. Tucker Carlson toured the whole country. He went to venue after venue after venue. He spoke to tens of thousands of people. And Tucker Carlson had Donald Trump on, and they were talking about a bunch of things. And the subject of Liz Cheney came up. And I'm going to play for you the clip that Kamala Harris's campaign took out of context and put up on the internet. They took this clip of Donald Trump's speech or Donald Trump's Q&A with Tucker Carlson, and they put it out there with one narrative, and then I'm going to play for you the actual entire clip so you can see just how dastardly and diabolical and dishonest and horrible these people are.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face.
Yeah, so that's the clip. That's the clip that the media tells you, Donald, that they want you to hear. That's what they said. Donald Trump said we should shoot Liz Cheney. Donald Trump said, let's see how Liz Cheney likes it when there's guns pointed at her face. And the messaging that they're attributing to that, or the messaging that they're packaging that up with is, oh my God, if Donald Trump becomes president again, he's going to point guns at Liz Cheney. He's going to put her in front of a firing squad.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face.
That's what they are trying to sell the American people on, that Donald Trump is so unhinged, that Donald Trump is so angry, that Donald Trump is so vengeful and vindictive, that he wants to become president of the United States so he can put Liz Cheney, of all people, who has no power over him whatsoever, Liz Cheney, of all people, in front of a firing squad to be executed. That is the media narrative today, and that is not the truth. That is not the case. Much like the bloodbath comment that the media has taken out of context, much like the very fine people hoax that they took out of context when Donald Trump was talking about Charlottesville, Virginia, this is another small segment of a longer conversation that the media has taken out of context and distributed along with the narrative that makes Donald Trump seem like he's this horrible mob boss that's out for revenge on everybody, when that's not the case at all. They were discussing, Tucker and Trump, Liz Cheney being a warmonger and how she is quick to start and to continue and to fund wars abroad where America's children are going to fight, where men and women who have parents and brothers and sisters and spouses are sent abroad to fight and die wars that Donald Trump and a lot of other Americans don't believe we should be in the first place. And Liz Cheney, a war hawk, is all about it. She's pro-war. She's all like, war, yay. I mean, why shouldn't she be? Her daddy is Dick. And we all know that Dick Cheney loves war. Dick Cheney started wars. He continued wars. He was all about the war. I mean, he shot some guy in the face with a shotgun, didn't even apologize for it. I mean, this is the guy. And she, you know, the apple, the tree, not too far, that whole thing. So this is the actual clip that, here, let me play again. This is the hoax clip one more time.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Yeah. That's the hoax clip. And if you listen to that, it sounds like, OMG, Donald Trump is going to try to put Liz Cheney up in front of a firing squad. Here is the actual full clip.
I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter's a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
She's a stupid person. So he's saying, look, Liz Cheney is sitting in Congress. Her dad was sitting in the White House. All these war hawks in the Senate. They sit in these cush marble hallways, these offices on these leather couches. They go in, and I've been to Congress. I've been to Senate. I've been in the committee hearing rooms. I know, I see what it's like. These people live a lavish lifestyle. They've got everything they need right there in the Capitol complex. They never have to go outside. They can walk around in tunnels underneath. There's security. There's barber shops, coffee shops. There's bars. There's not one, but two Subway restaurants inside of the Capitol building. And I'm talking about in the catacombs. You don't have to leave, and you can go to one Subway restaurant to eat fresh. And guess what? If there's a long line, no problem. There's yet another Subway restaurant. Why do they have 2 Subways in the Capitol building? I'll never know, but they do. I've seen them. And these people, I mean, everything is leather. Everything is old. Everything is taken care of them. There's nothing that these Congress people and these senators want for. And as they sit in this glorious marble, I mean, just really, palace, if you will, making these decisions, there are hardworking men and women with families going off to fight and die in wars because these people in the Capitol said, you're going off to fight and die in a war. And one of them is Liz Cheney. And of course, another one of them is her daddy, Dick. Now, Donald Trump clearly said, let's see, if you put these people, Liz Cheney being one of them, in the war zone, if you put them in the action, if you put them where the bullets are flying and the bombs are going off, if you sent them over there, they wouldn't probably be too quick to send your son or daughter over there. But of course, that doesn't fit Kamala Harris's narrative. She's got to pull out all the stops. She's got to get every moderate voter and every undecided voter and every middle of the road, I don't know who I'm voting for yet voter, which I can't believe these people still exist, but they do. She's got to get all of those people to vote for her and not Donald Trump. And so far, nothing's worked. They've tried to call him a rapist. That didn't work. They've tried to call him a tax cheat. That didn't work. They tried to call him a criminal. That didn't work. They tried to say he's working with Russia. He stole top secret documents. They've indicted him 91 times. They've convicted him 34 times. They've tried to kill him at least twice that we know of. Nothing has worked. They called him a Nazi. They called him and his supporters garbage. They've got Mark Cuban running around saying the women that he hangs out with are weak and stupid. And now they're saying, you know what? He just wants to assassinate his political enemies, which I think is weird because Liz Cheney's never had bullets flying at her face. You know who has? Donald Trump. By the way, there was a clip yesterday of J.D. Vance on the Joe Rogan show. J.D. Vance sat down with Joe Rogan for over 3 hours. Now, Donald Trump sat with Joe Rogan for like 2 hours and 58 minutes. J.D. Vance had like 3 hours and 16 minutes, which I think was intentional. I think J.D. Vance walked in there. He's like, how long did Trump go? All right, I want to go a little bit longer. But between the two of them, we're talking about over, 6 hours, 6 full hours of discussion about who these people are, about what they believe, about where they came from, about the changes they want to make, about the problems they see in this country. 6 hours between Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. They sat down and they talked to Joe Rogan for 6 hours to really delve into what kind of an administration they're going to have, what kind of an administration they're going to create, what kind of change they're going to make for the United States of America, and how they are going to help and benefit the average, everyday, ordinary American like me and you. You may not be average. You may be above average. I feel like I'm a little above average too, but I didn't want to rub it in. And that is something that Kamala Harris has not done, nor will she do. She refused Joe Rogan's request. She only wanted an hour anyway. And now the cards are all off the table because look, the election's coming up on Tuesday. And Donald Trump and his campaign and his staff and his running mate, they took full advantage of it. They said, we are going to do this thing. We are going to do the Joe Rogan podcast, both of us. And we are going to change the narrative. And there's so many really interesting things that come out. When you sit down and you talk to somebody for 3 hours, you don't know what you're going to say that's really going to connect with somebody. And J.D. Vance, he said a lot of stuff. He talked about how his son told Donald Trump a dirty joke, which I thought was great. Donald Trump puts him on the phone to say, hey, I'm going to make your dad vice president. And his son goes, you want to hear a dirty joke? And Donald Trump says, okay. And unfortunately, Joe Rogan did not ask J.D. Vance what the dirty joke was, which to me, that would have been my first question. If you walked in here and said, hey, my son, I think he's like 4 or 5, my son got on the phone with President Trump and told him a dirty joke, my next question would be like, what was the joke? I have to know. I have to know what dirty joke your 4 or 5-year-old son told the president of the United States when he called to tell you, hey, I want you to be my VP. That's Joe Rogan. I think he dropped the ball on that. We may never know what the joke is. If I ever get the chance to interview J.D. Vance, it's the first gosh darn thing I'm going to ask him. Secondly, we found out that he's a big fan of the show Emily in Paris on Netflix. Now, I know there's a lot of question about which candidate women are voting for and which candidate women support, but any woman out there who likes Emily in Paris, they're going to be looking at J.D. Vance in a whole different way. They're going to be saying, well, if J.D. Vance likes Emily in Paris, and I like Emily in Paris, you know what? I've never actually heard Kamala Harris talk about Emily in Paris. In fact, I know for a fact Kamala Harris has never even been to Europe. Because when Lester Holt said, you haven't been to the border, she said, well, I haven't been to Europe either. So Kamala hasn't even been to Paris. J.D. Vance loves Emily in Paris. He's wrapping up the female vote left, right, and center. We found out some other great stuff. We found out that he and Donald Trump both believe that Mark Zuckerberg is now a Trump supporter, which is weird because I feel like I'm still getting shadow banned, but that's neither here nor there. And then the other interesting thing we found out, and I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to play this clip even though down the road it could get cut out because of copyright infringement. So if you're watching this and you hear me say, hey, listen to this clip of J.D. Vance on Joe Rogan, but then there's no clip of J.D. Vance on Joe Rogan, just know it was taken out for copyright. But here it is. This is him talking about the what was supposed to happen, or the idea of how they were going to announce Donald Trump picking J.D. Vance to be his vice president.
Basically said, well, I think I'm probably going to pick you, but I don't know, and I'm not ready to make a decision. And then he looks at one of his staff members who's in the room. He's like, actually, wouldn't it really set the world ablaze if we just made the decision today? And so why don't you come up with me and we'll just do the announcement in Butler, Pennsylvania?
Whoa.
And I said, and of course, not knowing at the time what was going to happen, I was like, absolutely, let's get this over with, because I'm sick of not knowing. Let's just get this thing over with. And then he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it up there. We need to prepare for it better. So look, I'm not saying it's going to be you, but I'm thinking very seriously about it. Have fun. We'll see after Butler, PA. And then of course I go back home to Ohio.
Oh boy.
He gets shot. You know, the initial reaction is I actually thought they had killed him, because when you first see the video, he grabs his ear and then he goes down. And I'm like, oh my God, they just killed him. And I was first I was so pissed, but then I go into like fight or flight mode with my kids. I'm like, all right, kids, we were at a mini golf place in Cincinnati, Ohio. I grab my kids up, throw them in the car, go home and load all my guns, and basically stand like a sentry at our front door.
Holy shit.
And that was sort of my reaction to it. Anyway, I really didn't know it was going to happen until Monday morning. I didn't know who else was being selected. I think it was all the names that people sort of see out there, right? All good guys, like nobody I have any personal animosity towards. But obviously, here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. And there we are. There you go. That's it. That's J.D. Vance, and that is him, and he is talking to Joe Rogan, and they are discussing exactly what happened when Donald Trump said, "Hey, why don't you come to Butler, Pennsylvania with me, and we will announce you there." Now, think about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. Think about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. When you're in Butler, Pennsylvania, you've got this. I mean, it's incredible. You've got Donald Trump, who's standing there at the rally, and we all know what happened. We were all watching it. I was watching it on the plane. Everyone else was watching it wherever you were watching it. And Donald Trump put up the chart, and as soon as he put up the chart, he turned to look at it, and he turned to look at that chart, and the bullet whizzed by and nicked his ear. And since it nicked his ear, he didn't have to worry about anything. I mean, he didn't have to. He didn't get hit in the head. Had he not turned, it would have been a bullet lodged in his brain, and it would have been a totally different story. Now, if J.D. Vance were there to be announced as the VP, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, it's a whole different thing. If that's the case, then all of a sudden, what happens is you no longer have J.D. Vance, you no longer have Donald Trump standing there turning his head at the right moment. Anything could have happened. The bullet could have hit Donald Trump in the head. It could have hit J.D. Vance. They both could have been targets. The fact that they changed their mind at the last minute, or the fact that they decided, you know what, I'm not going to, you know what, we're not going to do it out there. We're going to do it differently. We're going to do it at a different time. The fact that that happened means that Donald Trump survived. And again, it's that whole idea of divine intervention. That whole idea of divine intervention that RFK was talking about, how he prayed to God every single day that that he would send a savior, that he would send somebody to help him. And it appears that somebody was Donald Trump. But it seems that is exactly what happened. So anyway, that's what went on the J.D. Vance interview with Joe Rogan. And I feel like that's something, I'm going to be honest with you, that is something that is really, really interesting to find out. The way these campaigns work, the way things change so quickly, the way Donald Trump makes decisions, and the way anything that happened differently. I mean, Butler, Pennsylvania was such a split-second thing that anything that would have happened differently would have had a dramatic effect on the outcome of the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt. It would have had a direct and different effect on what's going on in our country and where we are in this particular election. Really, 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 really crazy, wild stuff. Then there is this whole scenario with Mark Cuban. And Mark Cuban, you may know him. Mark Cuban is a billionaire, I guess. He's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban is on Shark Tank. That's a big Mark Cuban thing. Everybody loves him on the Shark Tank. And so Mark Cuban has become, for whatever reason, and I'm not really sure why, but Mark Cuban, for whatever reason, has become a Kamala Harris surrogate. And he goes around, he talks on all these shows, and he talks about, I guess it started with the economy. It started with, something else that he said about, he was talking about jobs. He was talking about, they were trying to get they like to get these billionaires, they like to get them in there, and they like to try to have them, discount Donald Trump's claims about inflation and tariffs. That's a big thing with Donald Trump, is how tariffs are great. And Mark Cuban apparently believes, no, tariffs are the worst thing that could ever happen to us, which, again, I'm not really sure why we believe that Mark Cuban is this genius when it comes to the economy. I mean, look, Mark Cuban's a billionaire, I get it, but he's a billionaire because, as I recall, he started an app, right? It was like a betting app, a sports betting app. Well, who can't make money if you open an online casino? If you open an online casino, you're going to make money. And if you can't make money, you've got some serious issues. And then Mark Cuban took the money he made after he sold his app for billions of dollars, and he bought a sports team. Again, if you can't make money buying a sports team, I'm going to be honest with you. You've got some serious problems. Every sports team is valuable. Every sports team makes money, even the bad ones, which I believe the Dallas Mavericks are or were. I mean, hell, I live in Jacksonville, Florida. The Jaguars have gone up in value every single year, and they just lose more and more every single year. We have a team that's worth over $1 billion, and they've only won 2 games this year, and it doesn't look like they're going to win that much more. Sports teams print money. People will go to your stadium, and they will watch your team lose. They will drink overpriced beer. They will eat overpriced hot dogs. They will buy jerseys for their favorite players. And when you trade those players away, they will buy new jerseys. That's exactly how it works. That's why owning a sports franchise is such a moneymaker, and it's exactly why Mark Cuban wanted to do it. Then he went on Shark Tank, and forget about it. I mean, it doesn't seem like Mark Cuban is the kind of economic, intellectual genius that other people are. Warren Buffett, for example, Donald Trump, even Elon Musk, people who have built multiple companies in multiple different economies. Anyway, Mark Cuban seems to be the guy that Kamala Harris likes to send out there. And instead of discussing the economy, Mark Cuban went on The View, which, let's face it, that's probably his first problem. Mark Cuban went on The View, and he decided to talk about women. And I guess, he was talking about Donald Trump, but the concept of women came up, and he made a comment, which I'm not going to play because I know for a fact The View will hit us with a copyright claim, but he made a comment, and his comment was that Donald Trump never surrounds himself with strong and intelligent women. Donald Trump he never ever surrounds himself with strong and intelligent women. In fact, what he claims is that Donald Trump is intimidated by strong, intelligent women. And that's why you'll never see him around strong, intelligent women. Now, you can imagine that all of these strong and intelligent women that Donald Trump surrounds himself with were a little miffed. You can imagine that all the strong and intelligent women that Donald Trump counts on to run his campaigns and his businesses and speak on his behalf, you can imagine that they were all pretty miffed. That they were sitting there going, wait a minute, what are you talking about, dude? What's your problem? And so a lot of them have now come out with their own answers, I guess you would say, to Mark Cuban. I mean, a lot of them. Like all of them. For example, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's not only Donald Trump's former press secretary, but also the current governor of the state of Arkansas.
Mark Cuban just said there are no strong, intelligent women around President Trump. It's a disgusting lie. And it's pretty funny coming from Democrats who can't even tell you what a woman is. I worked for President Trump for 2.5 years. Democrats tried to tear me down. President Trump empowered me and every other woman in America. My name is Sarah Sanders, and I'm proud to join the millions of smart, intelligent women who will stand with Donald Trump this Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's not just the people that worked for him, as she points out, it's also the people that are going to vote for him. Who else was? Oh, Alina Habba, who, man, this woman, by the way, she's scary. You don't want to cross Alina Habba. She is a cutthroat attorney. I just interviewed her the other day. We were at Mar-a-Lago. She was on the red carpet for the premiere of Line in the Sand from James O'Keefe. and Tucker Carlson Network, and she was furious.
I just got off a plane, so pardon my delay in responding to Mark Cuban's disgusting misogynistic remarks. Summer Zervos, Michael Cohen on 3 levels, just confirmed and denied by the Supreme Court of the United States. I'm licensed in 4 states. I graduated college in 3 years. Savage v. Trump. By the way, I could keep going, but those are the cases I win. And your left-wing media and your rhetoric, and you're putting women down. See, President Trump doesn't do that. He surrounds himself with strong women like me. So Mark Cuban, you can go to hell. I'm voting for Trump because I want my daughter to never, ever be around people that speak like you do.
Boom. Look at that. I'm telling you, scary. I would never want to cross her at all. Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne Conway, who is hilarious, cracks me up all the time. Kellyanne Conway, by the way, is the only woman to run a successful campaign for the president of the United States. She was Donald Trump's campaign manager, and she won. No woman has ever been in charge of a presidential national campaign and won. Kellyanne Conway was the first, and she had some choice words for Mark Cuban as well.
Hey, it's Kellyanne Conway with a special message for Mark Cuban and all the other misogynists that support Kamala Harris and love to spew hateful, divisive, sexist rhetoric. Recognize this place? This is the Ellipse, where presently a strong, intelligent woman is speaking without a teleprompter. Recognize that place? That's the White House. Your handpicked candidate, Hillary Clinton, lived there as wife of a president, but not as the president. Donald J. Trump beat her, in part because he is unafraid to surround himself with strong, intelligent, capable men and women.
Yeah, there you go. So Kellyanne Conway, Joe, literally, you name it. Oh, Riley Gaines, athlete and activist.
All right, let's just unpack this really quick. Just in the past week alone, Trump supporters have been called Nazis by virtually every media outlet. We have been called garbage by the sitting United States president. And now Mark Cuban has come out and said there is no such thing as a strong, intelligent female supporter of Donald Trump because they don't exist. Respectfully, Mark Cuban, you would not know a strong, intelligent female if she slapped you across the face, which you're such a beta, you might actually kind of like that. So if you are a healthcare provider, if you are a school teacher, if you are a U.S. military member and you are a woman and a Trump supporter, then to Mark Cuban, you are stupid and weak. If this woman right here, Tulsi Gabbard, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, if this is not a strong, intelligent woman, then what is? Actually, I already know Mark Cuban's answer. This is who Mark Cuban believes to be a strong, intelligent woman. Although we really shouldn't be. Yeah, sorry, she goes on and on and on, but you get the gist. It was so many women coming up. Oh, Sage Steele, by the way. Sage Steele apparently has a personal relationship with Mark Cuban, and she was really, what she said, I'll be honest with you, that this one got me because this one was, I think, really personal.
You never see Donald Trump around strong, intelligent women. That's the quote, Mark Cuban. I gotta say, I have known you and respected you and loved you for a really long time and have watched every single one of the comments you've made over the last several months. And I don't agree with them, but I respect them. And what you just said there is disrespectful and it crosses the line. How about Tulsi Gabbard? Let me ask you about Tulsi, your friend Tulsi, right? At the end of the day, if she had not left the Democratic Party, I bet that you would think that she's strong and intelligent, but because she crossed the line, she's not. Maybe more importantly, how about personally? We know each other. You and I sat next to each other. Remember at the IU basketball game when Bob Knight came back 4.5 years ago? Me and my daughter for a couple of hours, and you sat and you talked to, forget about me, how about my young daughter, who I think is intelligent, who looked up to you? How about your own daughters? What if someday they decide to think differently than you with their politics? Are they not strong and unintelligent? What is that? You talk about not being divisive, and look at what you're doing. Shocking, because I thought I knew who you were in your heart and your core. I know you're a damn good businessman, and this is just stupid. I don't get it, Mark. Not okay.
Look at that. I mean, that's just a gut punch. My daughter, who you know, who looked up to you, your own daughters, are you telling them that if they have a disagreement with you, that if they believe that Donald Trump is the future and Kamala Harris is weird, that they're stupid, that they're unintelligent, that they're weak? Is that what you're trying? Is that what your message is to women? I know you're a damn good businessman, which again, I don't know that either. But at the same time, it goes on and on and on. One of my favorites, by the way, well, there's three of my favorites. The first one, of course, was Kayleigh McEnany. And Kayleigh McEnany is an Ivy League lawyer. She's an author. She's a mom. And she was probably one of the most effective press secretaries in history, not just in Donald Trump's White House, but in the history of the White House. As far as press secretaries go, very few did it any better, if anyone did it better, than Kayleigh McEnany. And she was asked on Fox News about these comments. Listen to what she said.
I can't interpret his words. They were crazy. If he wants to test his theory that Donald Trump doesn't surround himself with intelligent and strong women, I'm happy to do that. If he wants to have a Lincoln Douglas style debate about the issues of our time, I can test his hypothesis and I can prove his hypothesis wrong. But it's not about me. It's not about the other amazing, accomplished women who are on the cover of the New York Post. It's about you. It's about the viewer. It's about the women I met at rallies, the mothers, the hard workers, the accomplished professionals, those who are working in all different types of industries, smart, innovative. That is what this is about. He insulted them, and there is no place for that in this country. And look, he gave an apology. I guess that's better than an apostrophe, which is what Joe Biden gave us. Yeah. But I have cause to question the apology when he doubled down on his statement. He said, ever, and then he said that is the truth, or he made some kind of intuition there, a double down, an underscore of his statement. There wasn't this aha moment after he said it.
That is without a binder, by the way. She said all that kind of stuff. So you know that it's coming. You know that it's coming from the heart. Laura Trump, who is the good friend of our program and, of course, is the current co-chair of the RNC. Laura Trump also was asked about it. She was on the Sean Hannity show. And here's what she said, not so much about his comments, but about women in the modern day Republican Party.
Before it was actually politically advantageous for anybody, and before people were really doing things like this, Donald Trump, when he built Trump Tower, Sean, hired a woman to do that job. If you go look at the Trump organization, the top executives and some of the people who have been with Donald Trump the longest are women in his company. This whole idea that any of us are being called all of these names is totally ridiculous. You're right. You know what the American people want to hear about? How are you going to make my life better? What is it you're going to be able to do over the next 4 years that is going to be a reason I'm going to vote for you? Donald Trump did it for 4 years. We had a great country when he was president. Women are smart enough, Mark Cuban, to know that. And I think it's really amazing to see how outraged they were with Donald Trump in a garbage truck driving to a rally in Wisconsin. People absolutely love this, and it's driving them crazy on the left, and they want more of that, not less. This is a fun, joyful campaign on the Trump side. Look over at the Kamala Harris side. They're melting down. They're collapsing. And I got to tell you, it's a pretty wonderful thing to see.
Now, the woman, by the way, who built Trump Towers, it's true. Her name was Barbara Rez, and she was also a lawyer. She was an engineer, and she was hired by Donald Trump to build his. I mean, think about this: the jewel in his crown. Donald Trump, and this was way back. I mean, this was before women had really inserted themselves into the workplace and into the higher offices and into the upper echelons and the C-suite. And Donald Trump picks a woman to run the project in New York City, which is a tough place. I mean, if you're doing construction in New York City, man, you're dealing with Teamsters, you're dealing with really people of questionable character. I mean, it is a tough business. And she got it done. And look at Trump Tower today, still one of the finest office buildings anywhere in the world, especially in New York City. But there are so many women that have come through the Trump organization, so many women that have come through Donald Trump's White House, so many strong conservative women, smart, intelligent conservative women who are not taking what Mark Cuban said lying down. They are upset, they are angry, and they want Kamala Harris to know that once again, one of her surrogates is mucking up her plans to be president of the United States. I mean, Bill Clinton... Let's talk about Bill Clinton for a minute. Bill Clinton is the ultimate Democrat president of the last 20, 30 years. What strong women did he have in his life? How did he treat women? Bill Clinton had multiple affairs, was accused of multiple things that were degrading to women, and also had an affair in the White House with an intern that he readily admitted to, got him impeached. And this is what? This is someone now, this is a party that we're supposed to say Donald Trump doesn't surround himself with intelligent and strong women? Bill Clinton looks at every woman as a piece of meat. Donald Trump looks at every woman and thinks, what skills do they have? What talents do they have that I can call upon to help with whatever the project is? Whether it's building a skyscraper in New York, whether it's building a television show on a major television network, or whether it's replacing the old administration and bringing America back to greatness. Which women can I find that have the skills and the talent and the know-how to do that? Bill Clinton's like, which intern is looking at me with that glint in her eye that I could maybe entice into the Oval Office one night to enjoy a cigar with? That's the difference between the two. Probably the most damaging, though, and the most surprising and most damaging came from Alveda King. Dr. Alveda King, PhD. She is the niece of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and she stopped her car, pulled out her phone, and recorded this message, which went immediately viral. These are her thoughts on Mark Cuban's statements.
Heads up. Mark Cuban just said, and I quote, "There are no strong, intelligent women around President Trump." Cuban's words are mean, sad, and misogynistic. And the left can't even define what a woman is. I am evangelist Alveda King, and I pray for my friend, President Donald John Trump.
Look at that. That is the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Doctor, the most effective, the most popular, the most famous civil rights leader of all time. And she's in her car saying Mark Cuban, who's speaking on behalf of Kamala Harris and the Kamala Harris campaign, is mean and sad and misogynistic. These are people who are trying to get women. They say they're out there fighting for women. They're fighting for women, unless those women like Donald Trump, in which case they're not fighting for you. They're insulting you. They're calling you mean. They're calling you sad, or they're calling you dumb. They're calling you weak. They're calling you unintelligent. Now, there was an apology. You may have heard, yes, there was this apology, so-called apology from Mark Cuban that I want to bring up here really quickly, because it's one of those apologies that seems like it's an apology, but that is not an apology at all. And it's one of those things that you're like, oh, he apologized, but then you read it and go, this clown did not even apologize. And I'm going to pull it up for you here. And just what's been happening now is Mark Cuban's been he's been on X, and he's been doing a lot of posts to try to bury this whole controversy. But here, hold on, let me pull it up here. Here is Mark Cuban's apology to the women of America who support Donald Trump for president. When I said this during the interview, I didn't get it out exactly the way I thought I did. So I apologize to anyone who felt slighted or upset by my response. As I said, it wasn't about Trump voters, supporters, or employees, current or former. And I set myself up for the 6-second soundbite, no excuses. Can't nail every interview. My skin is thick enough. What bothers me, though, and here's where he loses everybody, because if you're going to apologize, you just apologize, you put a period on it, and you move on. No one cares once you've apologized what's bothering you. But Mark Cuban doesn't care about that. He only cares about Mark Cuban. What bothers me, though, is that so many of the comments or media in support of or against me has some level of insult attached to it. Not just here, but everywhere. I'm not blaming anyone. We are where we are. Here is hoping that changes at least a little bit in a week. So Mark Cuban, just to bring this back to where we are, Mark Cuban insults women who support Donald Trump, who work with Donald Trump. He insults women who vote for Donald Trump. He insults women who think that Donald Trump is a better leader than Kamala Harris, and he calls them weak and unintelligent. Donald Trump never surrounds himself with strong, intelligent women, ever. Not one time. That's that definitive period that he put on the end of that sentence. And then when people call him out on it, he says, you know what? It bothers me that every comment against me has an insult attached to it. So after insulting women, he's bothered by the fact that people are insulting him for insulting women. That's pretty egomaniacal. I mean, even by my standards, I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying I'm not an egomaniac. I'm not saying I'm not out there trying to, prop myself up from time to time. But that is narcissistic beyond belief. Yeah. I'm sorry I insulted hundreds of thousands, probably millions of women. But you know what really gets me is that people are insulting me after I've done that. That's got to stop. Hopefully that'll stop next week. Hopefully that'll soon all be behind us. That is the weirdest. Kamala Harris really, I don't know if she picks these people or if they pick her. I don't know if she's out there saying, hey, you know who we really need? Mark Cuban. That's who we need. You know who we really need? We need Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. We need all those people because they're really going to help me get elected, especially in the final few days of the campaign. I don't know who's picking these surrogates for her, but they should probably pick again. Joe Biden. I mean, come on, this garbage comment yesterday. All I saw at Halloween, I saw Donald Trump in the trash truck. I saw costumes of Donald Trump, people wearing the orange vest. I saw people dressed as garbage. In fact, Donald Trump Jr. dressed as garbage. Eric Trump dressed as garbage. Megyn Kelly dressed as garbage. And my whole feed, and I'm sure yours was as well, my whole feed was filled with Trump supporters dressed as garbage in response to what Joe Biden said earlier this week.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Now, the interesting thing is that after Joe Biden said that, the White House did something which is despicable, dishonorable, dishonest, and also, I believe, illegal. They tried to alter the official White House transcript. In fact, they didn't try, they did. And they've done this before. There's somebody, a stenographer or somebody in the White House whose job it is to go back and change the official transcript of every one of Joe Biden's speeches where he messes something up. And we've seen it. They've been busted in the past. They were busted again. Breitbart reports, AP sources, White House altered record of Biden's garbage remarks despite stenographer concerns. White House press officials altered the official transcript of a call in which President Joe Biden appeared to take a swipe at supporters of Donald Trump, drawing objections from the federal workers tasked with recording the president's remarks for posterity. White House press officials, Biden created an uproar earlier this week with his remarks to Latino activists responding to racist comments, yada, yada, yada. The transcript released by the White House press office, however, rendered the quote, this quote here, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters, the one that we've been playing over and over, the one that is now famous.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Yeah, they added the apostrophe that dude from CNN said he heard, reading supporters with an apostrophe rather than supporters with just an S, which aides said pointed to Biden criticizing Hinchcliffe, not the millions of Americans who are supporting Trump for president. The change was made after the press office conferred with the president, according to the internal email from the head of the stenographer's office that was obtained by the AP. The authenticity of the email was confirmed by two government officials. If there is a difference in interpretation, the press office may choose to withhold the transcript, but cannot edit it independently, the supervisor wrote, adding our stenography office transcript released to our distro, which includes the National Archives, is now different than the version edited and released to the public by press office staff. What does this mean? This means that Joe Biden said the only trash I see out there floating around are his supporters. The stenographer, the official White House stenographer, wrote it as supporters, no apostrophe, meaning he called us all trash. But after conferring with the president, after I'm sure he spoke with Kamala Harris's campaign, after the uproar had already begun, they went back and they edited the official transcript, which means they went outside of the norm of the protocol. They broke the law, and they're doing it all in an effort to try to squash some of the uproar that has caused Kamala Harris, I'm sure, thousands and thousands of votes, if not even more. I mean, this garbage comment that Joe Biden made has taken over the last few days of the campaign. And when I say the last few days of the campaign, I mean the last few days of the campaign and the last few days of the campaign as a whole, because this campaign is over. A lot of places, the early voting ends today, and then we've just got election day on Tuesday. A lot of the final polling has come out. And wouldn't you know it, in the final polling, a lot of those final polls have Donald Trump victorious. A lot of those final polls have Donald Trump winning. in multiple swing states, winning in Nevada, winning in North Carolina, winning in Arizona, winning in Pennsylvania. There are so many places where Donald Trump is winning. And in fact, if you look at the final polling average for a lot of these places, you'll see that there is an overwhelming push for Donald Trump. There is an overwhelming push for Donald Trump in the early vote, in the Republican turnout, in Republican new voters that have been registered, and in Republican enthusiasm. And every single person you see online is coming out and saying, I'm a lifelong Democrat and I voted for Donald Trump. You never see anyone online post and say, I am a lifelong Republican and I decided to vote for Kamala Harris. It just doesn't happen. Well, with the exception of course, Liz Cheney, who, according to the media's latest hoax, Donald Trump would like to kill by firing squad.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
I want to, this is, it's weird, and I guess it still works. That's the problem. The problem is that these kinds of things still work. When Donald Trump sat with Tucker Carlson and said, Liz Cheney is a warmonger. She has no problem sending our kids to battle. She has no problem sending Americans to war to fight and die for this country while she sits back in her cush office. And when he said that, they isolated the part they wanted so that it made it sound like Donald Trump was going to become president of the United States and line up his political enemies and take him out. That's not at all. I mean, I'll play you the actual clip again.
I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter. But his daughter's a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
This is another clip. By the way, I could have cut off the stupid person at the end, but I personally, that's my favorite part, so I left it on. This is another one of their hoaxes. This is another one of them taking Donald Trump out of context. And you could do it to anybody. It works for anybody, but specifically for Donald Trump, when he said there are fine people on either side of the issue, not the Nazis and the skinheads and everyone else, but there are very fine people on either side of the issue. They took that totally out of context. They took out of context the bloodbath remarks when Donald Trump was talking clearly about the economy and how there would be a bloodbath for the auto industry if he loses the election. All they took was the word bloodbath and said Donald Trump's threatening a bloodbath if he becomes president of the United States. If they don't have a clip that they can take out of context, they just make crap up, like the suckers and losers comment, which Kamala Harris still likes to spew. I don't know why. That one's been debunked over and over and over and over again. But she's still out there saying, oh yeah, Donald Trump called these war heroes suckers and losers, something that never, ever happened. It's really amazing. And this is going to continue. It's going to continue on and on and on throughout Donald Trump's next 4 years as president. It's going to continue on and on and on. And I say that with the confidence of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who predicts,
I smell a landslide on Tuesday.
Now, keep in mind, we are going to have a fantastic party, like one of the best parties ever. We're going to be at Sneakers, which is a big sports grill, Sneakers Sports Grill in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And we're going to be there starting at 7 p.m. We're going to have a live broadcast. And by the way, if you're not in the vicinity of Sneakers, you can watch us. It's a watch party, meaning we're going to be partying and you can watch us. We're going to have the results popping up on the screen. You can come and watch the results with us. We'll be interviewing people. We'll be talking live. We'll be following not just the presidential race, which is super important, but also the Senate races and the House of Representatives races. We're going to be looking at all the amendments here in Florida and maybe some of the other amendments around the country that are super important. And most importantly, we're going to see if Donald Trump can get enough electoral votes on Election Day where it won't matter, where we won't have to sit around and wait 10 days or 5 days or a week or however, even a couple of hours is too long. We all as Americans have the right to know before we go to bed who the next president of the United States is going to be. And that's what we're hoping for. And if not, at least we'll have some food and some drinks and some Tito's vodka specials and we'll be able to hang out. So So that's what we've got going on there. If you want, you go to my Facebook page. All the information is there. If you click here, you can let us know if you're coming, if you're thinking of coming. There's a map so you can see exactly where we're going to be. All the information is there. Mark Kaye's Election Night Party, a special edition of Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, live as we watch the results come in. And I'm very, I'll be honest with you, I've never been more excited about an event in my entire life. This is going to be huge, as they say. This is going to be huge. And it all happens, like I said, next Tuesday. In addition to that, if you would like to come wearing your brand new official Trump MAGA Donald's ball cap, I don't know if it'll arrive in time, but you can go to markkaysshop.com right now and you can order one. This is the official MAGA Donald's ball cap, the golden arches, the red hat. Look, there's also the t-shirt, which makes it look like you're wearing Donald Trump's iconic MAGA outfit, the apron, the t-shirt, the red tie. It's just one, you just slide it on and boom, all of a sudden you're Donald Trump working the drive-thru. And if you sport that hat with it, man, you're going to be the coolest MAGA Donald's employee anywhere. These are available right now from our friends at Proud Patriots. Go to markkaysshop.com, markkaysshop.com, and you can get whatever you want. If you want some Mark Kaye apparel, no problem. We've got the Brighter Future collection, the iconic quote from Donald Trump's RNC speech. This is the camo t-shirt, which is very popular. The Mark Kaye signature on the front and on the back. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. Trump 2024. MAGA King. The Mark Kaye Saves the Republic line with aprons and hoodies and t-shirts and stickers and mugs. Patriot gear. If you're a Patriot, if you're an old Patriot or a new Patriot, this is the official store for all your Patriot apparel. Whether you want hoodies, whether you want t-shirts or tanks, all things Patriot are right here. And of course, look, this is great too. The Mark Kaye signature line with the signature rope cap, some other fantastic pieces of apparel that you can get and you can don as a supporter of the Mark Kaye Show. And again, as a supporter of the Mark Kaye Show, remember everything you purchase from markkaysshop.com, we take all the profit and we put it right back into this program so we can get bigger and better and bolder and brighter and happier and stronger and more united every single day. Listen, we've got a lot to do, man. We've got a lot to cover. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast because there's going to be videos and podcasts and audio and shorts and all kinds of information popping up all the time. And we want to make sure that you're not missing a single moment of it. So make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, share, click on whatever you can because we're getting, man, I can't believe it. It's only 4 days now. We are 4 days from Election Day. And this is the crunch time. This is when you start going through your list of contacts and you go through your phone, you go through your emails, you see who's texting you and you think, okay, who do I know that's going to vote my way? Who do I know that loves America, but maybe is a little lazy? Who do I know? Who has not talked to me about politics? You have to go through and you have to make sure every single one of those people knows that Tuesday's the day. If they haven't early voted yet, they got to vote on Tuesday. And if they're not voting if they don't have plans to vote on Tuesday, they've got to make plans. And if you've got to drag them there or drive them there or whatever, we need every low propensity fence post riding, I don't know, maybe I will, maybe I won't voter out there coming out to vote for Donald Trump. We need everyone out there to secure this election. We need everyone out there to make this too big to rig. We need everyone out there to swamp the vote so we can drain the swamp. We need every single liberty-loving, freedom-defending American. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Independent, Republican. I don't care if you're a Libertarian. I don't care if you're the Green Party. I don't care if you're a Wiccan. Whatever I saw the Wiccans yesterday. Come on out and vote for Donald Trump because he's going to make you, he's going to put more money in your Wiccan pockets. He's going to make sure that you're safe from crime and immigration and terrorism and war. He's going to make sure that the economy is bolstering for you. That not only is he going to make sure that the economy is strong, but he's not going to have to lie about it. The jobs report came out today. It was so bad. 12,000 jobs. They thought it was going to be like 115,000. That was the projection. It was 12,000. And Joe Biden's administration is out there lying about it.
12,000 jobs. That's a pretty big slowdown.
Well, as you noted, there were a couple of anomalies in the prior months, but the overall picture of the economy remains strong.
Oh, really? There's a couple of anomalies that killed 100,000 jobs, but the economy remains strong. The economy remains strong because they believe there's going to be somebody new in charge of it in about 90 days or so. That is, of course, again, if everybody gets out to vote. If you can early vote today, go early vote today. If you can't, make sure you're voting on Tuesday. make sure that you're taking someone to vote with you on Tuesday, and make sure they're voting the right way. Make sure they're voting for the future. Make sure they're voting for somebody who will protect us, protect our borders, drill our natural resources, use those natural resources to build our economy, cut our taxes, keep the government out of our lives, defund the IRS, defund the government agencies, build up the military, remove the woke mindset from every single one of our government agencies, make our educational system bigger, better, stronger, protect Social Security, and most importantly, spend every single moment of every single day of every single year for the next 4 years fighting for you and me and fighting to save the Republic. I'm so excited I could spit, but I won't. I'll leave that to Hawk to a Girl. Listen, thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget, like I said, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. We will see you tomorrow.